Hey guys, Collin here from the WHOA GNV podcast. I've actually never done anything like this before. This is completely new, completely outside of the box, but I felt it was like incredibly important. This is not a podcast episode. This will be a bonus content, if that. I don't even know if it's really can be considered content as much as it is a what the heck is going on segment. You know, I've invited my friend Jason Hurst into the studio tonight. Jason has been on multiple episodes at this point, right, sir?
Yeah.
Do you remember the episode? Episode 150?
Yeah, 18.
18?
150.
Okay.
We did, during the pandemic, we did the episode from home.
Coronavirus Sessions.
Yeah, Coronavirus Sessions.
Which had a really cool logo by James, or a little like Coronavirus Session. It was pretty intense.
And whatever episode this is.
Yeah, so, you know, something significant has happened in the Gainesville community, really revolving around one of our sponsors. You know, the GNV commercial advisors at Colliers Gainesville has been extremely supportive of our show, which has just been absolutely incredible. Like, I absolutely admire the heck out of Dan, Jason, and the entire team over there. And truth is, like, we wouldn't be able to do the show without them. They bought into our vision for Gainesville and what we were doing with the show early on, and I'm so incredibly grateful for that. And recently, I kind of, through the grapevine, I didn't even really get exposed firsthand to it. It was through the grapevine, through my connections. And it was like, oh my gosh, did you hear what happened to Colliers? And what happened at their location? And I was like, what are you talking? I'm like, well, like, what? What are you talking? I was completely blown away. Granted, I've been lost in my own world over here at the scooter dealership. Like, I've been telling everybody, like, opening the door at 9:30 and closing at 5:30. I'm like back to old school startup life over here. Luckily, business is improving. Things are getting a lot better. Yeah. But some chaos. The only way I could really refer to it as, in my perspective, from the outside in, really not knowing much at all, is that just complete and utter chaos is the way I would describe it.
Unnecessary chaos.
Unnecessary chaos. So, Jason, I mean, our audience already knows you. If they don't, they can go back and watch the other episodes. But you are a real estate agent at Colliers. You are an entrepreneur. You have Maple Street Biscuit Company. But something significant has happened, and I'm just gonna just let you tell your story, man. So, like, what the heck has happened, my friend?
So this isn't the first time I've told this story.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we were normal day as can be, June 2nd, say around 9:30 a.m. We're sitting in the office preparing for the day. I have myself, my intern who's a student at University of Florida. There's another coworker who was downstairs. We're just preparing for the day as normal, and we hear this doot, 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 doot on the door. And they say, police, open up. So we're like, oh, this is so-and-so. They're coming in here, because we always play practical jokes on each other. That's just our office culture. So we didn't even think anything of it. We just kept typing, kept talking, joking. We were listening to some old school R&B music, just having a good time. But then it got louder, progressively louder. The doot, 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 doot was almost shook the building. We're in a two-level office building in the Innovation District, and it literally shook the building. And it said, police, open up, we have a warrant. I'm like, yo, that sounded a little bit different. So I look outside to see what was going on, and I see my coworker was downstairs with zip ties going outside. And not only does he have zip ties on, there's this huge GPD SWAT paddy wagon in the middle of the driveway. There's about 15 armed SWAT team members all over the place, guns drawn, pointed at the windows, pointed at our doors. The streets are blocked off. We have a really narrow street in between building across the street and our office. It was just utter chaos is the way I can describe it. So I was like, yo, this is serious. We need to probably do whatever they're asking us to do. So me and the intern started going downstairs. A guy was telling us to come downstairs with your hands up if you're in the building. He asked us about 3 times before we just starting to comply. So I'm coming downstairs with my hands up, and I look in the doorway. There's a GPD guy, fully clothed, helmet, vest, the whole 9 yards, with an assault rifle pointed at me. and I've never had a gun pulled on me, let alone an assault rifle. So I literally thought I was going to die at that moment. I did not know, I did not know what was going to happen next. It's almost like time froze. But I had the presence of mind because my hands were up high enough to where you couldn't see them from the angle that I was coming down the stairs at. So I lowered my hands like, yo, I'm good. Like, I'm good. Like, let me out. So my intern was close behind me. Come to find out she was using me as a shield, but that's a whole nother story. But we make it down there successfully. And they frisk us, pat us down, ask me my name, ask her name. And we are zip tied as well. And we're walked out to the sidewalk right in front of our office along with our coworker, and we're looking at each other like, what the heck just happened? Nobody had any answers. And we asked the police officers, the investigators that were there, what's going on? They said, well, we're doing a sweep right now. As soon as we get things under control, we'll let you know. So I say it was about 30 to 45 minutes. We were zip tied. A huge spectacle, very embarrassing, in front of our office without any answers as to what's going on. So you can imagine our hearts are pounding, our minds are racing. We didn't know what was going to happen. Paddy wagon doors open. We're like, oh, we're going to jail. We don't even know what for. So eventually the investigator brings us over, asks our name again, gets our information, and reads off the warrant. Basically, another real estate firm in town had pressed criminal charges for a trade secret infringement, and they were serving the warrant that day for that trade secrets. Now, trade secrets, because I had to look it up for myself to make sure that was actually criminal, it could be anything from contacts, emails, basically intellectual property of any nature. So immediately I thought that was a little bit egregious for a trade secrets warrant. I've seen probably less use of force for way more egregious offenses. So I was pissed off. I was a little bit still scared and shaken that had an AR-15 pointed at me. But eventually they snipped the zip ties, and then they told us that because we're under investigation, that they had to seize all of our digital assets, so our computers, all the computers in the office, all of our phones, all of our Apple Watch, digital watches, anything that we had that was of digital nature, they were seizing. Now I asked him to read the warrant again, and he read the names off, and my name wasn't even on it. So here I am. I've had my life threatened. I've been zip tied. I've been embarrassed for who knows who may have walked by, and I'm not even implicated, and all my stuff got seized. So I'm fuming at this point. So while they were seizing all of the assets, we were escorted into our own conference room in our own office. It's about 10:15, 10:30 now. So everybody else that usually comes in for the day is starting to come. They're getting debriefed. They're brought into the office as well. We don't have any phones. We haven't been able to contact anybody. Eventually, the lead investigator gives us his phone to be able to call, wives, attorneys. We had missed multiple meetings that day, so we had to call our clients that day. It was just a big mess. So we were detained for about 3 hours in our own conference room while they searched and seized all of the property that was listed in the warrant. Again, a warrant that I was not even implicated in. And here, the poor intern, this is only her second day on the job.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And she was like, now who is such and such company? She hadn't even heard of the company. So she was like, why am I getting lumped into this? So they took her computer, and she's in classes this summer. So she doesn't even have any way of completing her classes. So she ended up having to go back home for a little bit, and then coming back, we supplied her with a computer. But it was just a huge mess. But yeah, we got detained. And after the 3 hours was up, here's a card. If you have any questions, let us know. And went on their merry way. And to this day, I have not talked to the lead investigator. This is going on almost a month now. It'll be a month this weekend. I've not talked to the lead investigator. Haven't gotten any guidance on when I'm going to get my stuff back. Haven't gotten any guidance on much of anything other than it's an ongoing investigation and you need to be patient. And any guidance that we got during that time was that it could be months, it could be weeks to months before we got anything back. So it has been it's been mentally draining. I'm tired. I'm frustrated. I'm angry. I mean, every emotion I think I've touched in the past couple of weeks, it's been completely debilitating towards my job, obviously. Had to go get a phone that I was going to give to my son. It's cracked and all that other stuff. I had to go use that for my business. Had to go buy a new computer. Still haven't gotten my watch back. But we've basically had to kind of rebuild at the same time as trying to get answers to what's going on here. And really there hasn't been much because, like I said, it's an ongoing investigation. So, yeah, these last 3 or 4 weeks have been pretty traumatic, to say the least, for everybody involved.
Have you been able to actually operate business from a mental standpoint? I mean, just complete transparency, you guys, for everybody who's listening, Colliers is helping us with a lease next door, which we've talked about on previous episodes and stuff. I mean, we've had this property for lease, and I mean, you were spot on, still like negotiating this lease, helping us with everything. And then I find out about this. I'm like, how the heck can you even focus on this, man? Like, how is this even in the realm of what you're doing right now? Yeah,
man. I think that I have a bigger opportunity and a bigger platform to show strength in this instance, because usually in these instances, and let me be very clear, this is not anything racial. Yes, I'm a black man. Yes, black men don't have a very positive history with the police. This is a human issue.
Did it even cross your mind, though?
Yes.
It did?
Yes. Especially when I was coming down the stairs, black man, cop, that was the first thing that 100% transparent. That's the first thing that crossed my mind.
But it's not?
Yeah. No, it's not a racial incident at all. People have tried to make it out to be, but that's not what it is. It's a human decency issue at this point. And I think the platform that it has created with me sharing my story and me telling about what happened and the injustice that's taken place has given me a light and a platform to show quiet strength. People know that I'm angry. There's a bunch of stuff that's going through my mind that I really want to do, that I'm really showing restraint. And I think that is part of that is because of my faith walk. I think that there is a platform that is higher than me, that I need to be able to live out and show in the midst of adversity, that love can prevail and win. That it's not a sensitive thing. It's not anything that's a point of weakness, or that I'm not angry, that I'm not feeling the way that I feel, which is completely demoralized and angry. But it is, it's a meekness. It's the same meekness that Jesus used when he was persecuted back in the Bible days. That you can take all that and still smile. You can take all that. You can still work. You can still be a family man. You can still do all of these things and still feel how you want to feel. But you can work the process. Whatever that is afforded to me right now, it's not much. It's not much of a process, other than being patient and letting these things kind of work themselves out.
Okay. I think a lot of people out there are going to be thinking or wondering, okay, is any of it true? I mean, how could SWAT go in, or GPD go in with AR-15s and a full team and do something like this? If any of it was, if they had no evidence whatsoever, you know what I mean? Like, my first, my first perspective, I was like, I mean, of course I was like, what? Like, how could this even happen? But then part of me is like, well, they can't just go in there and do that, right? Unless they have some sort of evidence that there's something, right? I mean, is that?
I mean, yes, there is. I mean, again, it's an ongoing investigation, so I'm going to be very careful about my words. But all this stuff is public records, so you can go and look at the police report. I question the police report that was used in this particular matter, and I'm sure there's other things and other layers that brought it to the point where it was today, or to where it was on June 2nd at least. But there was some stuff on that police report, for instance, said company, said person filed the police report, and it had items on there. One of the items belonged to me. Now, the funny part is the police report was said to be filed on July of 2020. One of the items on there was my car that was said to be taken, which I never worked for said company, and I didn't even buy the car until December of 2020. So there has to be some kind of collusion to where said report was backdated, because how can you put a car on there that a person doesn't own? I guess, like, that's like my son can figure that one out.
Right.
So again, yes, I first of all, I'm a huge supporter of the police, continue to be a huge supporter of the police, but I'm not a supporter of when there are flaws in the system or when there are loopholes in the system that have not been adhered to. There needs to be a accountability, and I think I'm very thankful for the partnership that I've had with Fareed Johnson, who's over the Gainesville police. It's called the PAC, the Police Accountability or Police Accountability Coalition, or basically they help hold the police accountable. But Fareed has been very good in getting me the information I need to be able to kind of fight back, to be able to ask the right questions, to be in front of the right people. So I'm very thankful for that relationship. I'm very thankful for Jamie Koenig, who is over internal affairs. We've been in contact. She's been very helpful in helping me get through get information there, and me being able to share my story, share my frustrations, share what I believe is my truth in the matter. But yeah, obviously you don't make it to the state attorney's office and back to a judge without some kind of due process. But in all honesty, I have to question that process. That same process that brings an innocent man into within 15 feet of an assault rifle that could have went off. Then that's a whole nother, that CNN and everybody else that you can possibly imagine would have been in Gainesville because of me not even being in that warrant. That'd have been a whole nother thing that the city would have to deal with. But I just don't think.
Do you look at that as they were doing their job, or do you look at that as like that was unnecessary? I mean, I try, to play devil's advocate, right? Like I try to like put myself in everybody's shoes, right? Mm-hmm. And they were obviously doing what they were told to do, right? They didn't necessarily know the circumstances on the other side of the door.
Sure.
Right. So, you know what I mean? Like I'm trying to kind of put myself in everybody's shoes and understand from their perspective.
I think that the guys that were there were simply doing their job. They are people who carry out orders, and they are respectful of those orders, and I completely get that. The guys that were involved were doing what they were asked to do.
But still, at the same time, it's scary as hell.
Yeah, I mean, but I question the process that led to the person who called those orders into fruition.
Okay.
Because the ends just don't justify the means. This is completely unprecedented. No one that I've talked to in law enforcement or retired law enforcement or anybody of reasonable sense would think that trade secrets, emails, contacts, intellectual property warrant 15 SWAT members to descend upon an office with people who have little to no criminal history, if at all. I mean, it didn't make any sense. We don't.
So why would they do it? Like
that's what we're trying to figure out.
Yeah,
that's what we're trying to figure out.
So there's public record that Colliers, or I guess the team members of, had filed a suit against said brokerage.
Yeah.
That is the ones that are basically saying that you guys stole trade secrets.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a pending suit. Like, is this when you take a bird's eye view, do you look at this as being a retaliation of some sort?
It could be seen that way. Yeah.
But we don't really know.
It could be seen that way, but you don't really know because there's still a lot of details that haven't unfolded just yet. Yeah.
Okay. I guess, because I'm kind of in the same place, like I know that we can't, dive into so many details here. But I guess my final question would be like, what do you want the community to know about you, to know about Colliers?
Yeah. I think the community should definitely know that the reason why I even joined Colliers over a year ago was because of being able to work with a team of people that I saw as people I looked up to personally, that I've worked with personally, and that had a pretty pristine reputation in town. There's one gentleman on the team that's been in town for 30 years, and you just don't do anything for 30 years without having pretty good character and integrity, for the most part. And he, in my eyes, he had that. So one of the reasons why I even joined the team is because getting an opportunity to work with those types of people was really key for me in my career. My organization, Maple Street Biscuit Company, has been a huge supporter since day one of the police department, from having coffee with a cop, where we allow people from the community to come in and ask questions with the cops, have interface with the cops, let them know that these people are human and they're here to protect and serve us. Sure, we see on the media, and media can misconstrue who the cops are. The cops have always been here to protect and serve in my eyes. Are there a few bad apples in the batch? Sure, there's a few bad apples in the batch in any organization. But I have always taught my children, and I've always led in the community to support the GPD, Alachua County Sheriff's Office, and we'll continue to do that with all of our initiatives. And during COVID, we delivered caterings to them as frontline workers. So we will continue to do that. But I have always been and will continue to be a supporter of law enforcement. However, I cannot be that person who stands on the sideline when an injustice takes place. Me even being able to step forward was really scary for me, quite frankly, because usually those things don't end very well for people of color, one, in my opinion, and anybody that comes up against law enforcement. But I said that I don't want to be that person who becomes a martyr on the other side of the bullet and becomes a catalyst like all of the things we've seen on CNN. Whether right, wrong, or indifferent. I wanted to be that person that survived on this side of the bullet that can really cause change. So what I'm asking for the community to do is to really hold them accountable in this situation. If you agree that a wrong has been done here, after hearing this story, after hearing what's happened to myself and other upstanding individuals in the community, let GPD know. Tony Jones has been very responsive and very open to receiving feedback. I've had multiple people that have reached out to ask how they can help. I send them right to writing a letter, going on the website for GPD, and voice your concern. If you think I'm an upstanding individual in the community, if you think I'm a leader in the community, great. Tell them that. Tell them how I've affected the community. Tell them the impact that I've made on you, because that really goes a long way to. And it doesn't even need to be a community leader. It needs to be. It's a human issue. It's a human injustice. So great, you think I'm a leader. Great that you think I'm an upstanding individual. But even if I'm not, no human should be subject to having their life on the line. One, for something that they're innocent in, but two, for the ends that don't justify the means. I couldn't go to sleep at night without, and I still am struggling with sleeping at night without knowing that justice has not been served.
Yeah.
So I'm really sending people to voice their opinion to GPD, ask the questions, ask the tough questions. They've been very responsive to it. Like I said, I went to the PAC meeting a couple weeks ago. I've been in contact with Internal Affairs, been in contact with my attorney. And everybody has been, for the most part that I've worked with, has been pretty receptive. And it sounds like the voice of the people is really being heard, and there's really being action taken. Now, is it the action that I want? I definitely think there needs to be a review. If you go online and also look at the instances where the SWAT is supposed to be deployed, there's a lot of loopholes there. So if we can make sure that we are keeping the police accountable, not just in this instance, but going forward as to when we need to deploy the SWAT team, I think that's going to be extremely valuable.
Yeah, isn't this just a civil matter?
Yeah.
Why was SWAT even?
I don't even know how it became criminal.
Right.
It's unprecedented. So
I think that's where I'm really blown away.
Right.
Like, how did it even get to that point?
So those are the tough questions we need to be challenging the police department on and really having answers. Which obviously they're gathering all the facts, but I'm going to hold them accountable on that, and I ask the community to do so as well.
Okay, so I think there's going to be a segment out there, a group of people who are thinking, okay, SWAT raided your office.
Yeah.
They have your equipment. Are they going to find anything?
No.
Okay, and then what?
No.
I mean, from a standpoint of, like, if this was you were falsely accused of stealing trade secrets, and they don't find anything, what should be done?
We'll wait till we get to that point.
Okay.
But my goal and my prayer is that ultimately justice be served, and that there really is true significant reform that takes place. Because again, imagine if all of that happened and the gun did go off.
Yeah.
So it just becomes a totally different issue for the community. And we're looking like all the other places where there has been injustice, rightfully so or wrongfully so, and everybody and their mom's gonna come down here, and it's just, yeah. I'm thankful that I'm on this side of the bullet to be able to try to effectuate change, and it's sad that it has to become to being on the other side of the bullet for real change to take place. But yeah, I'm not gonna let it go by the wayside.
I'm thankful you're on that side too.
Yeah.
Just for everybody who's listening, like, I've known this guy for a long time, and you're one of the most outstanding, the highest character individuals I know.
I appreciate that.
And when I found out that this even happened to you, I mean, even if there was something that was going on, if Colliers found out to be connected to something,
yeah,
like, you're guilty by association because you weren't even involved in it.
right?
Right. So it really, that kind of bothers me. But I also go to the standpoint of, okay, and I think a lot of our audience knows this as well, about the fact that I'm like you when it comes to faith, and that God puts us in these places for particular reasons, and we don't ever understand them at the time.
Yeah.
Right? We really don't. Like, why would God want you to do this, right? Go through this. And I had called you, and we had talked, and I'm definitely, like, 100% wanted to encourage you from the standpoint of, and my thought process was, man, like, God picked the right person.
Yeah.
Pick the right person, because there's nobody in this town, in my opinion, that could go through something like this with so much class and so much character than you.
No, I appreciate that.
And so I just want to absolutely encourage you to continue to take that higher ground and approach it that way. Because we never really know why God puts us in these positions, but you are the cream of the crop, my friend, and I'm honored to know you. I'm honored that Dan and you and the entire Colliers team sponsor our show and have been so supportive of what we're doing that, I don't know, guys, I just felt super called to just have Jason come in and just share at least his perspective of it. And,
that.
The audience can, take whatever perspective they want, right? Like, they're hearing it. But I was like, you guys have been so incredible to us. I know you as a human. I know Dan as a human, like, on a real level, and nothing's ever going to change that. Nothing's going to change my perspective of that. And I'm super appreciative of you. And I don't know, I guess I just wish you the very best in this. I know it's a complete headache, and I hope that justice is served as well.
Yeah. I can't tell you that there aren't nights where I sit up and wonder, why is this taking place?
Right.
I wake up, my jaw's sore from just grinding my teeth all night.
Sure.
And sometimes I close the door of my car and I'll scream and yell. But yeah, I think that, like you said, and I've heard, I appreciate those kind words. I've heard that from other people too, and I'm just like, yeah. This was my year of supernatural joy, and this has been one of the biggest challenges of my life. I quite frankly could have lost my life and lost all of this stuff, but it's a daily decision for me to choose joy, choose to smile, because all of that could have been taken away. But at the same time, I have to have that controlled anger that is constructive and really motivating me to do something to change this situation and be a voice for those that go through these types of things, or could potentially go through these types of things. So yeah, I do believe I'm in the right place, wrong situation, right place. But it's so funny. I had a dream the other night, And I was with a close friend of mine in the dream, and we were just laughing, and it was like uncontrollable. You know that uncontrollable laughter where you're crying and you just almost can't breathe. And I woke up that day and I was like, what the heck were we laughing at? So I get to the gym and I feel like in my head that I had this impression on my mind that you will have the last laugh. And I held on. I've held on to that since that dream happened, that some good is going to come out of this, whether it's for me, whether it's for somebody else, but justice will have the last laugh. That's it.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, man. Thanks for doing this, man.
No, man. Thanks for being here. Like, again, it wasn't planned. It was just kind of one of those things where I was like, you know what? Like, I know Jason Hurst.
Yeah.
And I know Dan. And I know the team over at Colliers. Like, something needs to be said here.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, so, you're always on the forefront, and I think that
it's scary for me, to be honest.
Yeah,
it's kind of stepping outside the normal. Hey, tell us your story.
Yeah.
Which I love. I love doing podcast interviews. I love hearing people's stories and sharing. The whole reason we got into this was to make Gainesville a better community.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Retain our top 6 talent, attract experienced talent, attract, investors to here, build collaboration within the community. I mean, that's the whole reason we started the show. And then when I hear something like this happen, I'm like, man, this is terrible.
Yeah.
I've
had the thoughts of, do I need to get my family out of here? Is it about that time? We've been here for 15 years now, and I just like, this is still one of the greatest communities I've ever been a part of. It's still a great part. But every great city has its growing pains and challenges. And if you really care about the city, you'll do something to change it while you're here. And I do care about the city. It's not time for me to leave. It's time for me to help us grow. So I'm just trying to do my part.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I love you, man.
Love you too, man.
Thanks for all you do. And there it is, podcast fam, from Jason Hurst himself. And thanks for listening. We'll see you later. Bye.